73% of supply chain leaders expect AI to reduce their operational costs by at least 15% in 2026. Yet only 28% have deployed an AI solution that actually works at scale. That gap isn't a technology problem. It's a leadership problem. If you're running operations today, you're drowning in complexity, global disruptions, unpredictable demand, supplier volatility, inventory blind spots. Your team is firefighting. You're losing margin on every shipment because you're still predicting demand using spreadsheets and gut feel. Your competitors aren't. According to McKinsey's latest research, companies that deployed AI-driven demand forecasting saw a 35% reduction in excess inventory by 2025. That's not incremental. That's your profit margin walking out the door while you watch. And here's what keeps you up at night. Visibility. You don't actually know where your critical shipments are in real time. Your suppliers are sending you data in 17 different formats. Your warehouse manager is checking inventory levels manually. A single disruption in one node cascades through your entire operation. You lose days. You lose sales. Your customers get angry. And your shareholder value takes a hit. In Southeast Asia and India, the stakes are even higher. Supply chains in these regions operate with less infrastructure, redundancy, and more geopolitical complexity. According to recent Gartner research, Asia-Pacific supply chain leaders face 42% higher supply disruption risk than their Western counterparts. If you're operating in Singapore, Hong Kong, Delhi, or Jakarta, this isn't theoretical. This is your operating environment. Over the next 10 minutes, we're going to show you exactly how AI-driven supply chains actually work in practice. Not the hype version. The version that drives measurable competitive advantage. We'll break down 3 frameworks that matter right now in 2026. First, how to move from reactive firefighting to predictive operations using machine learning. Second, how generative AI is fundamentally reshaping procurement and supplier negotiation. And third, the real operational architecture that allows you to see, decide, and execute faster than your competition. By the end of this video, you'll have a playbook. You'll know exactly where to start. And you'll understand why companies that act now will own their categories by 2027. Framework 1. Demand intelligence that actually predicts. The problem is old. Demand forecasting has been broken for decades. Retailers stock too much. Manufacturers overproduce. Inventory sits. Cash gets stuck. And when demand actually spikes, you're out of stock. Traditional forecasting methods used historical data in isolation. Linear regression. Simple moving averages. They work fine in stable markets. But we don't live in stable markets anymore. Machine learning demand forecasting ingests hundreds of data signals simultaneously. Weather patterns, social media sentiment, competitor pricing, macroeconomic indicators, port delays, even ship tracking data. Real AI systems weigh all of this in real time and recalculate probability distributions daily, sometimes hourly. The evidence is clear. Deloitte's 2025 supply chain report found that companies deploying advanced demand sensing technologies reduced forecast error by 28% on average. For a mid-market distributor moving $15 billion in annual throughput, that's $400 million in working capital freed up. That's not a cost center anymore. That's a profit center. Real example. Maersk, the global shipping leader, deployed an AI-driven demand intelligence system across their operations in 2024 and extended it through 2025 and 2026. They integrated port congestion data, shipping manifest analytics, and carrier performance metrics into a single machine learning model. The result: 40% improvement in vessel utilization rates and a 15% reduction in port detention costs. They're now processing container movements with predictive accuracy, not reactive scrambling. For you, application looks like this. You start by auditing your data ecosystem. What signals do you actually have? Supplier data, customer transaction data, external economic data. You don't need perfect data. You need enough data to train a model. Then you pick a specific category or product line to pilot. Not your entire business. A pilot, you set a baseline. You measure forecast error. You deploy the model. You measure again. The improvement is usually visible in 90 days. Framework 2. Generative AI in procurement and negotiations. This one is changing the game faster than most executives realize. For decades, procurement was process-heavy and data-light. You had a supplier. You negotiated terms maybe once a year. The process was manual. The leverage was opaque. You didn't really know if you were getting a fair price because you didn't have true market visibility. Generative AI changes this fundamentally. These systems can now analyze thousands of supplier contracts, market benchmarks, commodity price indices, and geopolitical risk factors simultaneously. They can identify negotiation leverage you didn't know you had. They can draft complex contract language. They can flag hidden risks. The evidence is compelling. According to IDC's Enterprise Procurement Study in 2026, companies using GenAI for supplier management and contract optimization achieved 19% average savings on procurement spend while reducing the time to close deals by 42%. That's simultaneous improvement on two dimensions that usually trade off against each other. Real example: a major Indian pharmaceutical distributor, one of the largest in the subcontinent, deployed a GenAI system to analyze their supplier agreements across 470 vendors. The system identified that they were paying above market rates on 43% of their SKUs, due to long-term contracts negotiated before commodity price shifts. Within 6 months, they renegotiated key supplier agreements using data-driven insights the GenAI system surfaced. Result: 12% reduction in cost of goods sold while actually improving supplier relationships, because negotiations became fact-based instead of adversarial. For you, this means you start by digitizing your supplier portfolio. Get all your contracts, pricing agreements, and performance data into a centralized data lake. Then you integrate external benchmarking data, market rates, commodity indices, competitive pricing from transparent sources. You deploy a GenAI system that's specifically trained on procurement language and benchmarks, not a generic chat GPT. You run analysis. You identify outliers. Your procurement team becomes a negotiation force multiplier. They're not hunting for savings. The AI is. They're executing on insights the AI surfaces. Framework 3. Real-time visibility architecture. Here's where most companies fail. They invest in the tool. They don't invest in the architecture. A demand forecasting model is useless if it lives in isolation. A procurement GenAI system is useless if it can't communicate with your inventory management system. Supply chain velocity requires an integrated operating system, not a software system. An operating system. One where decisions flow, data flows, and execution is synchronized. This requires three technical layers working in concert. First, data ingestion at the edge. Your warehouse, your distribution centers, your supplier facilities. Real-time tracking. IoT sensors if needed. GPS if needed. Visibility isn't delayed. It's live. Second, a decision engine that processes this inflow and generates recommended actions. Machine learning models that say, when X happens, do Y. Third, execution automation. The system doesn't just recommend. It executes. It triggers purchase orders. It adjusts inventory allocations. It alerts teams in real time. The research backs this up. World Economic Forum's 2026 Supply Chain Outlook found that companies with integrated, real-time visibility platforms achieved 32% faster response times to supply disruptions compared to traditional companies. In the APJ region specifically, Singapore-based enterprises with end-to-end digitized supply chains reported 27% lower total supply chain costs by 2026. Real example. A Southeast Asian e-commerce fulfillment network, one of the largest in the region, integrated their warehouse management systems, logistics partners, and inventory systems into a unified AI-powered network in 2025. When a supplier shipment was delayed at port, the system automatically rerouted orders to alternate warehouses, adjusted inventory allocations, and notified customers with revised delivery commitments before a single customer contacted support. Response time went from 4 hours to 8 minutes. Customer satisfaction increased. Operational cost per shipment decreased. For you, the application is scaled and phased. You don't rebuild your entire supply chain infrastructure overnight. You start with one end-to-end process. Maybe inbound logistics. Maybe warehouse operations. You integrate your systems, you connect your data sources. You deploy ML models and Gen AI applications into that flow. You measure velocity, accuracy, and cost, then you expand. The phased approach de-risks the investment. It proves the model. And it builds internal capability on the team. TRANSFORMATION. Thanks for listening. If you found this valuable, please subscribe to Apex Minds D4J for more powerful insights. See you in the next one.